Kasia, let's start with the Great Gatsby. So many of your fans, I think, know you from that movie. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is where I got my first taste of film. I didn't plan on being in film. It was a total accident getting onto that set. But yeah, so love that film. It took about 2 years to shoot, and there's a friend of mine who's on here as well, who was on, I think he's on the live, who was also in one of Baz Luhrmann's films. Hello, I can see you. So yeah, love that film. 2 years to shoot. I was in lots of different outfits. I think they had a field day just dressing me up. I had a field day just playing dress ups because what girl doesn't want to wear Prada um, and Tiffany's jewelry? So it was definitely an amazing experience. Long days, but yeah, it was my first opportunity to get a taste of what the film world really is as opposed to what you think it is. It's not all glitz and glamour. It's a lot of pain, 12-hour days and 15-hour days in killer heels. I broke my toe on that set. So,
Oh my God.
but I still kept going. So it was a beautiful experience. I love Baz. I love the team. I can't. One day I hope to work with them again, but we'll see. We'll see if the gods of film allow it.
And how did you get that role from the first place?
Oh, such a random story. So I moved to Sydney. I'm a bit of a geek. So I came to Sydney for an opportunity to be a brand manager for an e-commerce business. I forged, and no one at home copy this. Obviously, being young in my 20s, I didn't have a lot of paperwork to get an apartment. So being in design, I designed my own paperwork, got myself an apartment. But shock horror, I had no furniture. So I was sleeping on the floor. And then someone in Sydney, because I didn't know many people, told me that there's an area where you can get like, a wholesale prices or cost prices for mattresses and things like that. So I was trying to navigate Sydney, trying to figure out where this was. And at the time, I had a really sharp 1920s redhead bob, like really sharp. And I was very skinny, looked like I was malnutrition from the 1920s, kind of worked for me. Um, and I thought I was in this area where all the factory outlets are. Little did I know I was right near Fox Studios. And someone came up to me and goes, "You have a fantastic look. Look, we're shooting a film. Would you mind if we, took some measurements, took some photos?" I was like, "Oh, okay, I've done some modeling. This might pay for my mattress." I'm just trying, like, how much will this cost? Like, how much am I going to get? Because it might pay for my mattress. So I'm all thinking about the mattress, like, "Oh, yeah, no, we'll definitely pay you for your time." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So, blonde me, not at the time redhead, but blonde characteristically mentally went, "All right, fine, I'll go to this random place I've never been to. No one knows where I am. They can take my measurements and take some photos. Then when I'm there, they go, "Would you like to put some clothes on, like just so that we can get an aesthetic look?" And I was like, "Okay, it still kind of feels like modeling. I'm okay. I'm on board with this." Little did I know it was $100,000 worth of Prada or thereabouts. And then they left me in the studio by myself. And I was like waiting for other people to come, and I was okay, this is getting a bit weird. And then I'm waiting and waiting. I had just watched a movie like Taken. So I'm like, wait a minute, am I dressed up and there are cameras here and someone's bidding on me and my family doesn't know that I'm going to be shipped off to another country? Like, is this the beginning of my undoing? And then I got really stressed. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, this is weird. And I go to walk out, and then the door opens, more people walk in, and there's Baz Luhrmann. He's like, "We're going to do a film test. Have you done one of those before?" And I'm like, "I have clearly knocked myself out. I am somewhere in Sydney and this is all an elaborate dream. I am probably in intensive care somewhere. Sure, how hard could it be? Tell me what I need to do." And he's just like, "All you got to do is follow what I tell you to do." I'm like, "Good, I'm good at following instructions." And then did the film test. I went home, still had no mattress, slept on the floor. And then I got a phone call next day going, "Look, Baz thought you were hilarious. They want to bring you in for more fittings." And then I came back and there was a group of girls that we all got dressed again in Prada. And he's like, "Yeah, we've written you into the script. Oh, by the way, we're using your film test and that's going to be in the actual film. We're going to CGI doors." And Baz loves that scene. It's your first ever scene, but we're putting it in the main film. So my first ever film test, first ever film experience, was actually in the film. So if you slow the film down and there's a redhead with feathers that walks through some doors, if you pause it, look closely enough, you'll realize behind it is an empty warehouse and there's just me. So
I
that's
see.
how I
And how
got
long
onto
before that
Gatsby.
opportunity you were thinking even about being an actress?
Oh, I loved film. I've always loved stories. I just didn't think I could be an actress. Do you know what I mean? Like it's was I was a geek. I was always the nerdy one. I wasn't looking like this when I was younger. So I was always the misfit and I was like, oh, it's no way in hell me with my crazy hairdos and outfits could ever do film. Like I'm not that pretty back then. I was like, I'm just not it's just not me. And so I was like, oh, I'd love to do it because I love film. I love stories. I love the power that stories have, the magic of getting lost in another world. But I just didn't think that was something that I could do. Like, and also I'm from a European family, so my parents were political refugees, and they fought a lot so us we could have a roof over our heads, get a good education. So it was always drilled into me. It's like you need to get a real job, you need to set yourself up in life, you need to, buy the property, get the car, get the whole, the life, take care of your health, take care of the family. So I just didn't think that would be something that I could possibly do, or I would end up being a disappointment to my family.
I see
Probably
they
still am
were
a
originally
disappointment, but
from Poland, right?
I'm Polish, yes. So I was the only one born here. I'm what they call the green card baby. I made sure my family remembered it for every birthday, Christmas card, and thereafter. You're welcome that we stayed in the country because I came into the world.
I see.
But yeah, so Polish originally.
So how did that affect your own personality? That you are coming from different background, but you are living in a new country somehow. You were born there, but still, raising up with parents from
Yeah.
different background. How did that affect you?
It was interesting because that's my sister was born in Poland and I was born here. So we both, even though there's only 6 years apart, we had very different experiences. So I think because when she came here, she couldn't speak the language and it was really difficult for her to assimilate. So, even going at school, asking her to the toilet or something like that. And the sentiment in Australia back then in the 80s wasn't very warm and fuzzy towards Europeans or expats. So it was always the Indians, the Chinese, the Afghanis, all the other kind of nationalities that when my sister was struggling, they would come and help her and they would understand, the non-verbal cue of I need to go to the toilet. They'd figure it out and they'd show her. And so I think after that, she didn't want to be different. So she really assimilated to trying to fit in and be Australian. I didn't want to have the European food or whatnot. I just wanted to be one of them. That was kind of her experience. Mine, on the other hand, because I was always the exotic one, I loved being Polish. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm different. Like, because I already was so different than everyone else and I was a geek and I just didn't fit in, I kind of went the other way and decided to embrace and go, well, if I'm already different and people already see me as different, well, I'm going to go full tilt and I'm going to be as different as possible. So it was really interesting seeing how in one sense for my sister it was difficult to be different, and for me how I then switched it up after watching her going, you know what, well, if I'm going to be persecuted for being different, I might as well just go full tilt, and I am Polish and proud. I'm Australian still and proud, but I love all nationalities. And also, again, for me, being different, it was always the different cultures at school that were my mates. I learnt mahjong. I was playing mahjong and speaking Mandarin with other kids, and eating different types of food. I just loved the different cultures and being different. That was kind of where I found where I fit in.
So what you're saying is that you got even flexible in your personality because you were coming from different background, but you were in Australia. So you could appreciate both cultures somehow in this way, right?
Exactly. I thought that Australia's pretty lucky. We're a melting point for a lot of different nationalities and cultures, and I think that's what makes it special. There's the fact that you get this taste of everything without having to fully immerse, but you get a good taste of everything.
That's right. And I saw that you've been in a new movie, and you were actually the producer of this movie, Buck's Metaphor. And could you explain, as much as it doesn't contain a spoiler, What's going on in this movie? Because I saw the trailer, it was very interesting.
Oh, it's a very intense movie. It's forewarning for anyone that wants to watch it, but it's makes you ask a lot of questions about yourself. So obviously, the premise of the film is obviously myself who's incarcerated in this futuristic prison box for 7 years for a crime she didn't commit, and you see the struggle and the fight for life and that kind of unwavering desire to live, even in the most unwavering kind of circumstances and the most unforgiving environment. You also see how people respond and react to different scenarios and like how they interpret situations and how they then relate to one another really interestingly. For me, I took it as a lot for myself because my mum passed away from terminal brain cancer. For me, it was almost like a metaphor of when you get a sentence of a terminal illness, what it's like, where you're trapped in this box and you are at the mercy of everybody else, and how you see the world through this little slot. Like everything is tainted a little bit, but it's also, you don't get the full picture. So it's a really interesting, like you could draw so many metaphors from being in this box, the many boxes we put ourselves in, just like, getting the house, getting the car, having to live this particular lifestyle, or like how you perceive just anything. Like we put ourselves in boxes all the time and we don't even see it, and we become victims and trapped in those boxes, but they're of our own design. So the film, as much as it is brutal and it has like its literal meaning, there's a lot of layers to it which you can watch it multiple times over and you'll take something different from it, and hopefully it makes people stop and think and go, you know what, maybe I have more power in my scenario than I realize. So yeah, hopefully people watch it. Hopefully they weren't scarred by it.
So, as I understood, it's
But
not
yeah,
just about surviving, it's a kind of psychological thriller, right?
it is. It
Hmm.
is very about what's going on also in your head as opposed to what's going around you immediately as well. And just, the physical survival, but the mental survival as well. Like, how do you mentally deal with all this stuff?
And as I understood, it was already released in Australia, but recently you are trying to release it worldwide. Is that correct?
No, so we haven't released it in Australia. We did do a screening just for test audiences. It's the first kind of release is in North America, so hopefully we'll bring it to Australia soon, and then everyone in Australia can watch it and be also equally traumatized, or severely stimulated, either one. But yeah, it's been quite a journey. I'm very proud of the team. It's not just me. There's so many people involved in making a film. If anything, I'm just the little cherry on the top. There's crew, there's the directors, there's a whole bunch of people that are the layers of the cake. I just sit on the top and make it look pretty.
Looking forward for watching that for sure. And you mentioned about your mother, and you are
Yeah.
doing actually activities related to brain cancer awareness. That's related to your mother somehow, right? That you want to do it exactly because of her.
Yeah, and I grew up, my mum was a nurse, and I grew up in nursing homes. Because I lived in Australia, I didn't really have grandparents, so I adopted about 150 grandparents through being in a nursing home. And it's one of the most debilitating disease. Any cancer is the most debilitating disease. I think, it's one of those things that it's unforgiving and it doesn't discriminate about who it targets. But brain cancer, I'm not sure of the rest of the world, but in Australia, it's the most underfunded area of cancer, and it is really brutal. You don't get to pick how it affects you because it's your brain. It might attack your motor skills, it might attack your personality, it might attack anything and everything, and there's little to nothing that can be done besides butchering yourself and having surgeries to cut it out. But your body can only take so many times it's going to cut it into your brain because it's your brain. So, given in honor of my mum, who took, her life's work was caring for other people and making sure that, they were healthy or in their last moments that they were loved, supported, they were in the best possible care. In honor of her, I want to make sure that those who also have this debilitating condition have the most amount of love, support, and care. So I will be doing this to my last breath. I will be raising funds. I will be helping, even if it's just sitting and listening to a story with someone that's got a terminal illness, because they need help. And it's not pleasant for anyone. And the survivors the parents and the children or the family that has to deal with the aftermath of the disease, they also suffer, and there's not a lot of support for them either. So hopefully in future I can build something which will help the families that have to deal with someone that's suffering, because the person that suffers, but the family also suffers in silence, because when you watch someone obviously deteriorate, you feel that the pain that you suffer is somehow so insignificant to the person that's suffering. But I think there is an even deeper suffering if you have to watch someone and you can't do anything. I think there's a crueler suffering. So I think in medicine in general, there should be a bit more support for both sides to make sure that the person that has to go through it has got the support they need, but the people that have to watch it and are just, literally tied to it also get the support that they need. So yeah, that's why I constantly will
That's so
be.
true, and I really appreciate that you put energy for this. It's very important that you are doing this, and that's great.
Thank you.
And I also observed that Bucks Milford is not the only movie you produced. There were other movies you have experience in this, and True Love, for example, Blur. Would you like to also tell us about them? Like, for example, True Love was about the dating app, as I understood.
So True Love is a series that's still in development. So that's got a lot of AI and dating world kind of scenarios of like what would it be like if AI does control your love life, and what are the ramifications of corporations and artificial intelligence having that much power over the human connection. So that's a really interesting project. It's still fully in development. Hopefully we will have more on that later. I can't speak too much about that one. But for Blur was an incredible team. That was a passion project with an amazing director called Andrew Broughton. We shot that over weekends for two and a half years, I'd say. And it's like a really traditional kind of indie psychological kind of thriller film as well. And it's, I love working with people that have such a passion for all of the other directors and cinematographers that have come before them and really want to pay homage, but still kind of merge it into their own style. And so, testament to Andrew and Ian and the whole team. They did such a beautiful job with, on an indie budget. And hopefully people will see the beauty in this film as well. And this one's less intense, but still intense in a different way. So I think it's probably more accessible as a film for more people. So I hope that they get to watch that one too soon in Australia and abroad.
And based on these three movies, we could guess like psychological thriller is your favorite genre of movie. Is that correct?
Oh, I would say it's my favorite, but I think you get to do more. It's more interesting. It's a lot harder to shoot, I think, if it's psychological. As an actor, I think there's a lot more in there, and also to safeguard yourself if you're dealing with a lot of heavy material. So, and I like to test my limits to see what I can and can't do. And I think a psychological thriller is a really good benchmark to see what you can and can't do. But as for my favorite genre, I don't know. I don't think it's my favorite. I think it's the one that I love developing my skills as an actor in. Probably my favorite genre is probably sci-fi. I don't think we have enough sci-fi or good sci-fi in the world. So hopefully one day I get to work on a sci-fi project. That would be incredible. Um, and I'm Polish, so therefore I love The Witcher and all that kind of fantasy. And also I'm a nerdy geek. So, I read all the Sword of Truth books, The Wheel of Time, all of that kind of stuff. So that's probably my escapism that I'd like to go into as my favorite genre, as my favorite genre to work in. Probably a psychological thriller because it's more demanding.
As you mentioned, we need more sci-fi movies, especially the ones which they have depth. That rarely happens, unfortunately. They usually focus on the visual effect, but maybe it's better to focus on stories more. I hope it will happen more.
Yeah.
And you will be
Yeah.
in those projects. It will be interesting to see you in that.
Fingers
And
there. Look at Interstellar, how incredible that film is. Like that film still blows my mind every time I watch it. You can take something away from that film every single time. So we need more of those kind of films.
exactly. And you were in the series Home and Away.
Yeah,
And this series were shown for a long time, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
How was your experience in that set?
Oh, they're lovely. They know what they're doing. They have a well-oiled machine on Home and Away, so it's a privilege just to do like any small role on that set. It's an institution, and you get to see incredible Australian actors that have been on that set for years, and they really know their characters. They really know everything from how to manage, their positions, their lighting. Like it's like watching people that are just really at the top of their game, just for the technical aspects of acting. So I loved it. It's a lot smaller than you think, the set. But that's with all kind of live, kind of, well, not live shows, but shows that are shot in a studio. That they're always a lot smaller than what you get to see on TV.
I see. And what do you think about movie industry in Australia in general?
I think we are a growing industry. The thing that upsets me is that we don't get enough support and funding in Australia. And we're a small country in comparison to, say, obviously the mass of America and Europe. So we lose a lot of our incredible talent to overseas because there's just not enough consistent work for them to make a living here, to obviously feed their families and the rest. So that's the thing that's disheartening a little bit because we have incredible talent. As soon as our talent goes overseas, all the different, Hollywood, the European film circuit, they snap them up like it's a heartbeat, especially crew. We are a hardworking bunch of people in Australia. I'm hoping that because there's like Marvel Studios that's just been built in Queensland. Obviously, Disney just bought Fox Studios in Sydney. That there'll be a lot more cash injection and a consideration of shooting a lot more stuff in Australia. I know we're a bit far away from the rest of the world, but we do have amazing scenery and we have really incredible talent here. So I love the industry. When we get together and we make projects, it's my happy place being on an Australian film set. Like you can't get a better working environment, at least in my experience. I haven't had any negative experiences working with Australian crews. If anything, I feel like it's my extended family and they treat me just beautifully, like literally they're my family. But I hope that we get more funding, more exposure, more support to make really interesting stories.
I think that's really necessary, as you mentioned, because in most of the times you see that talents from Australia, people know them as soon as they, for example, go to the United States or to the UK, they do a project there. Then, as soon as they do that, we know about them. Before that, when they are in Australia, they are doing indie movies. Maybe we don't know them, and that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the
No.
case. And you were in the Wolverine, and
Yeah, I wasn't worried.
as a stand-in for Janssen, as I understood, Mrs.
Some
Janssen.
people, yeah, that was another bizarre film experience. Again, relatively new to the film business at that stage. And I walked onto set. I didn't actually know what I was called in for because they just called me, again, the film family. They were like, "Oh, what are you doing today? We're shooting another feature film. We need some help. Would you come?" And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." I'd do anything for my film family. And so I come to set, and then little do I know, there's Hugh Jackman jacked up. And he's like, "Oh, hi, I've heard about you. You're Kasia. Congratulations on the Great Gatsby." And I was like, "Hugh Jackman knows my name? Oh my God, I'm losing my shit here. I'm like in hysterics going, this is the coolest thing ever." And then I get told that I'm standing in for Famke Janssen, who in this particular scene is rolling around with Hugh Jackman on the bed in a dream sequence. So I had the best day of my life. I got to high five Hugh Jackman. I have still yet to wash this hand ever. Never washing this hand. Hugh Jackman's incredible. Nicest human in the world as well. And that was literally standing in for her on a bed next to Hugh Jackman before she comes and does her scene or her lighting. And, that was incredible. And then the nicest thing I've witnessed of Hugh Jackman. So obviously, Hugh Jackman has a really regimented training regime, food, he has it all packaged up throughout the day. Has his little esky next to his chair where he sits, and he does all of his little in between take workouts to obviously pump up the muscle and the veins to look Wolverine. And there was a makeup artist who was feeling faint and she didn't look very good. And Hugh Jackman walks with his SV, brings her back to his chair, sits her down, and is like, "Look, You don't look too good. Here, have some food, have some water from the kit. And she's like, oh, no, no, that's been all prepared for you. I can't take it. It's like, trust me, someone will be here in 30 seconds or whatnot to replenish it. It doesn't matter. I'm more concerned that you don't look well. I just thought that was the nicest thing I've ever witnessed. It doesn't matter if you're a superstar or not. His humanity, how kind he is as a person, Hugh Jackman. He's an incredible human being. After watching that, I'm his biggest super fan. I just think he's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, I heard it from many actors. They tell the same stories from superstars that you think that they are very arrogant, but usually more professional they are, we see more humanity in them. And that's
100%.
interesting because whenever we see just amateur actors, some of them they just acting very differently, but they should really learn from such actors how to be human first and then be professional in your work.
100%. And you can just see it changes the mood on the set. Like everyone then automatically, because of his example, all starts looking out for one another, and you can see it then everyone's pulling in the same direction to achieve the same objective, which is make the best film that they possibly can with the materials at their disposal. So it makes a difference when you have kind, good humans on a set. I personally think that the product will always be like thousands, millions of times better than you don't have the nicest humans on set.
And by the way, we have a fun challenge on our page named Crazy Eyebrow. We try to lift one eyebrow up and keep one down. Can you do that? Oh, you are doing very good. How about the other one?
I can't.
You
Wait, wait,
see,
wait.
that's a good facial expression exercise.
Yeah.
But you are
That's the one. See, I
doing
don't know
very
why
good with the other one.
I have one, one really strong one.
That's great. And I observe also you had a podcast. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm in the process of doing a podcast. So I used to have one with one of my best friends. We've kind of paused on that one because work and then COVID and everything else got really crazy. But I'm hoping to launch a new one with one of my acting friends, just giving different experiences of what it's like to really work in the film industry. Because I think a lot of people have this glamorized view of like, oh, you just look pretty and then, you just read some words and you'll be on a film set. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and there's a lot of rejection that goes into doing this business, and just how you navigate that and how you make sure that your own mental health is taken care of, and also that what is in your control you can control, and what you can't, and just enjoying the process wherever it may take you. So hopefully we'll be able to launch that soon, and just have general chit chat of what it's really like to be on a film set. What do we do when we get there? Like, what is it like?
I see. And by the way, have you ever been in Cyprus before?
No, so I was hoping to go last year. I was so wanting to go, and I went to the travel agency, and she talked me out of it. She's like, everyone's over there at the moment. Do not go. She's like, plan it for next year, because I really wanted to go, and then yeah, didn't end up going. So I'm hoping that maybe this year I'll get to go and yeah, enjoy the beautiful surrounds. Let's have my holiday with my fabulous wardrobe. But
That would be
yeah,
really
last
lovely
night.
to have you here in Cyprus.
Oh,
It has very
oh,
beautiful beach sides, and it will be also lovely to see one of your movie premieres here, even in our cinemas. So that would be also interesting to have you for that as well.
yeah, definitely. If we can organise that, I will definitely be over there. Like you said, the beaches, love it. But the food looks so amazing. Just I can't. I love food. Don't look it, but I love food.
So I see that there are questions for you, mostly from the Great Gatsby. They want you to talk more about it. For example, on what other experiences you had on set with other actors there?
Toby Maguire was hilarious. So I had my teeth straightened. Long story. I had an issue. I got hit in the face with a baseball bat as a kid, and I had a whole bone issue that they had to then fix, and I straightened my teeth. But before that all happened, my teeth were the splitting image of Kirsten Dunst's teeth. So you can imagine red-haired Kirsten Dunst. So Tobey Maguire used to follow me around set because I think he thought I looked like Kirsten Dunst, and he was hilarious. He was the nicest person. I met his then wife, the two little kids. So he was a barrel of laughs to be with. And then working with Leonardo DiCaprio, he's an incredible actor. Honestly, he's business. When he's on a set, he knows what he needs to do, and he like the way he approaches acting is incredible. I bumped into him a few times outside of the set, and you can see it's like how he can be him is must be tough because no matter where he goes, people know who he is. Like you can't not recognize Leonardo DiCaprio. So he's always in his obviously baseball cap and his puffer jacket. I'm like, that must be so isolating. Like I don't know how he does it to be that well known. But when he's on a film set, he's business. He knows his craft. So that was really, for me, really rewarding to watch how he approached his scenes and how he got into character and his level of attention to detail. That was amazing. Elizabeth Debicki, love her. She's incredible. I did a bit of her picture double work as well because we're both Polish and super tall. But she to come out of film school to land that role and the way she approached it and how she handled herself, I don't know if I could have done that. I at least had some different life experience under my belt, but to come straight out of film school and to do the acting, the level of acting that she did, the level of accent work, just is like she was meant to be on a film set. She's just delightful, and her family's so sweet as well. Like obviously a typical Polish family. So that was lovely to work with. And then obviously Joel Edgerton, he's incredible as well. Like they're all the whole A-list team. Like you can't get better. For me, I don't think I appreciated what I stumbled into until now. For your first film experience to have that lineup and get to interact with all those people, I don't know how I did it. I thought I should have been a blubbering mess 24/7, but I wasn't. Because they're just so nice. They make you feel so comfortable in their presence, as if you're welcome to be there. I'm like, I'm thinking, who's this pleb? That's me. Like, I'm some nobody. But they make you feel so welcome. They're so professional. It's like free acting class for me just watching them work. It was incredible. But they're all got a good sense of humor. They all don't take themselves too seriously. They all have a barrel of laughs. When it's business time to do obviously work, they're going for it. But when it's not, I don't know. We had a great experience. Hence, it was very sad to watch that film finish. I think everyone in the film industry knows it's like we get the blues after a project's finished because you have all these different people that come together and you form such a tight knit bond with them. They become your family, and then you all disperse onto another project. And it's like for 2 years you've seen this group of people almost every day of your life, and you've shared some of your highs and your lows with them, and then all of a sudden you don't get to see them anymore because they're on another project. So yeah, all of those guys are just incredible actors, hilariously funny. um yeah, I can't explain it.
And what do you have in mind for your next projects?
Oh, next project. So the next project I'm working on is an Australian film. So it's a biopic. I don't think I can say too much more on that one. It's with an incredible director. Um, his name's Crib Stenders, so I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with him. I've worked with him in a very limited capacity on another TV show, and the way he approaches his work is again, he very savvy business craft. I'm expecting to have see this film be incredible. And then yeah, I'm writing some stuff, so hopefully I can get that off the ground in Australia. Fingers crossed, wish me luck. And then hopefully the film gods, as I call them, will bless me with an incredible script as well for the remainder of the year. But yeah, I'm trying baby steps. You're never certain in this industry if you're going to get work, I think. And I think that's what keeps you humble. Like you can have your first film job being The Great Gatsby, which is astronomical, and then you might be, doing really small, tiny roles supporting other incredible actors until you get your next massive piece of work. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. It keeps you humble, but it's also everyone has their day, Jerome, and you support your other actors, make sure that they have, when it's their day, that they look incredible, that their character really nails it and steals the show. And then, vice versa, when it's your day, hopefully all those actors will also support you and really help you elevate your game and shine as well. So, yeah, I love the film family, but that's pray for me. Send me
That
some good
was
work.
that was really important thing you mentioned about being humble in this industry. It's very important. As you said, in 1 year you may shine, you may get lots of interesting projects. Then you should wait for years so that something happens. That's
Exactly.
so
And
true.
if you love it, you
And
can't stop. Do you know what I mean? Like I wish I could just because I have other talents. I'm good at business. I've worked in various different industries. I wish my brain would let me let this go so I could be like normal people. You go your 9 to 5, you have your holidays, but I can't. It's just I'm thanks to Baz, I'm addicted. I love stories. It's the only place where I feel things make sense and it's my happy place. As much as it can be a torment to get to the point that you're on a film set and you're getting to obviously immerse yourself in stories, but I'm addicted. I can't. I'll be 88. I hope I'm, 88 and still doing something in whatever capacity.
so for the last question, I'm going to select from the ones I've gathering since 24 hours ago. David asked you that what are the challenges as a producer?
There's there's always depending on so there's varying different levels of producing. So depending on obviously what capacity you're producing, there will be different challenges. But obviously budget's always the hardest thing. Like managing different departments, managing different expectations, getting stuff off the ground, helping support finding funding. There's so many challenges. There's so many different stakeholders, and getting the timing right so that you lock one piece in so that you can lock another piece. Because if you don't have one piece, another piece won't consider you to lock that in. But vice versa, if you don't have that piece locked in, it won't let you do the other piece. So finding the balance of which piece of this puzzle to get sorted first in order to get to the point where you can actually make it um, is hard. And obviously, there's lots of different personalities that have to be involved. There's obviously different skill sets. It's being a producer is like being a CEO, I would guess, or even being a manager of some sort. Having to have lots of different things up in the air and hoping that you don't drop one, I think, is the toughest thing. But obviously, everything in film, unfortunately, comes down to money and time. Time and money is the two biggest killers on film sets. So that's the hardest thing to manage. And then obviously then getting it off the ground. And then once you make the film, the hardest thing then is also getting it distributed, then selling it. You think that the battle is done once you've made the film. That's half the battle. The other half is actually getting the distributed and getting it seen. So it's like, I don't think you ever stop working in the film. If you're in the production or the crew side, you don't stop. I think sometimes the acting side is difficult, but depending on what capacity you're acting, it's a little bit more beautiful in the sense you can come in, drop in, then you can kind of drop out.
Yeah,
If
as
you've
an
got a stake in
actor,
it,
you
it's
don't worry about that much often as budget or these things. You
no.
just act.
This is true. And I think because I've always had a thirst for understanding how film works. I think I've always kind of been in a position where I've had some influence or been aware of all the different cogs that's working in a film. It sometimes surprises me how many actors don't understand that it is, or don't have a concept of the business side, that it is a business. At the end of the day, as much as we're trying to obviously evoke emotions or impart some form of message through film, through storytelling, it is still a product that needs to be sold, and it still has an element where you have to approach it like that. And there are still, just like any organization, there's different stakeholders, there's different deliverables, there's different things that you have to consider when she's completely different to being on a set.
Right. And Kasia, so sorry that I kept you for a long time.
That's okay.
The interview got longer because I really enjoyed talking with you. You
Oh,
were talking about
likewise.
very interesting stuff. I hope we can do it again, even for a specific
Yeah.
topic later, whenever you have time. After this movie, I think you will be so busy because I'm sure this movie will be a big deal, box metaphor.
It was a labor of love, that film, and I hope people enjoy it. Poured a lot of my soul and a lot of my life experience into that film. So hopefully, it was very cathartic for me to film it, and the crew that I filmed it, and the director Kevin Kashan, and the DOP Jason Von Draco, and then obviously there's Cloud Milas who was in there. These people obviously are incredible humans that gave me a safe space to just pour a lot of raw emotion out. So hopefully everyone watches it, and I really appreciate if you do support independent film, because we need all the help we can to bring interesting stories to people, so it's not the same stuff always. Your support's really greatly appreciated because we need the help in the film industry.
Yeah, and someone asked how to pronounce your name correctly. Kasia, is that correct?
Cash,
Kasia.
yeah.
Yes, that's
Cash money.
my name is Money actually. So
Really?
you see, yes,
What? To get
Money and
that weird
Kasia.
currency.
Money talks now. Yes. So,
Yeah,
Kasia,
right, money
thank you
talks.
so much for joining me today. I really appreciate, enjoy our talk. And would you like to add something?
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate. I love getting. Obviously, I'm chatty. You can tell I'm chatty. I love talking about film, and I love. Obviously, I wouldn't be in film if I didn't love stories, and I love hearing people's stories. And I think what you're doing here, having people chat, and is the best way that you can learn or share knowledge or impart something that hopefully will then spark an idea or something for someone else. So really appreciate you having me on, and yeah, watch Box Metaphor and Blur. Really appreciate it, because and then tell me what you think, because obviously I'm still learning as well, and I'm hopefully every time I do a film, I get better at acting and become better at my craft. So I love to hear what people think and what they take away from the films as well.
Thank you so much, Kasia, for joining me today. I wish you the best for all your future projects as well, and especially looking forward to watching Box Metaphor. I suggest everyone also to watch. It will be wonderful, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kasia. See you. Bye.
Bye.